Listen, that new intro, I'm over here to get my body rolling. I'm like, okay, Fly Nubian Money. That is so fresh. That's so dope. Good morning, good afternoon. Hey, Queens. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to Fly Nubian Money, where we help you to master your mindset and maximize your money. Today, we're going to be talking about the Quincy Jones estate selling assets to an investment firm. Quincy Jones' children inherited approximately $500 million from their father, which breaks down to roughly $80 million each. Now, they are also selling portions of the estate for additional cash. I feel like you need more money than 80 million. But anyways, this deal includes parts of his music catalog, producer royalties from major albums, film and television rights, and intellectual property tied to his name and likeness. That means the firm now collects income from streaming, licensing, and royalties that are tied to his work. So the estate received a large upfront payout and still has some involvement in managing the brand, but the long-term income from those assets has now shifted. Today, we're going to break down what was sold, how these deals work, and whether this was a smart financial decision or not. Of course, every day we're here on Fly Nubian Money. We are joined by the best queens in the world. I am Dr. LaNee, brand your brilliance coach, monetization strategist. Aisha Verzi, financial services expert. Shalaye Camillo, CEO of Vital Source Realty. Dr. Sabrina, thank you. I can't see your name anymore, but Dr. Sabrina, estate planning, right? Estate planning. Nomalanga, 3 M's, marriage, motherhood, and money making. And so let's get into it. Quincy Jones. Who doesn't know Quincy Jones? Who doesn't know his work? He's worked with everybody, not just Black people. He's had his hand in almost everybody's pocket. That means his catalog is humongous, which means his bread, I would assume, is going to be long. Now, before we get into him, let's talk about you, right? You have been out here. Actually, let's do it this way. If somebody left you a catalog, you're Quincy Jones's child, and they left a catalog of work, would you sell it? We'll start with you. Would you sell your person's catalog of work for some quick cash?
Okay, I'll go. So I would say,
like she did. I don't think she heard. But go ahead, Shalaye.
Oh, okay. Were you going somewhere else?
No. Go ahead.
Oh,
she didn't answer. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. So quick answer, no. But I also follow that up with it depends.
Okay. Well, hold on to your depends then. That sounds funny.
Not yet.
We'll go around and get the answer for the depends part of this conversation. Okay. Nomalanga, what about you? Would you sell your person's catalog?
It's a tough one because I don't know what would we do with it if we didn't sell it. Mm-hmm. But I guess for the sentimental value, yeah, it wouldn't be for quick cash because it's obviously very valuable. But I do have to ask myself, other than the sentimental value, exactly why would you keep it?
Okay.
So I think I'm holding on to my depends as well.
That's so funny. Dr. Sabrina, what would you do? Would you sell your person's catalog or would you hold on to it?
Would I sell or would I hold on to it? That's a tough question. You know, everybody's situation and circumstances are a little bit different. And I think a lot of times how we move really does depend on the season of life that we are in. So it's kind of hard for me to answer that question. I'm not being evasive because there are seasons in my life where I'd say, oh, absolutely not. And then seasons change, things change, circumstances change. And, it may be one of those situations where, it felt right, time was right, and it needed to be done. So it's hard to say what I would do, honestly, Dr. LaNee.
So you're a depends woman too. Okay.
I'm gonna wear mine.
We're all good. I have my answer, but Aisha, what about you?
It would depend as well because you just never know. It depends.
Okay. So I'm going to say no, I would not. I would not sell the catalog. And the reason why I believe this is my answer right now, before we get into the video and we get any further into the conversation, I'm thinking about legacy, right? If I have $80 million, I'm going to hope and pray that I'm going to make good sound choices and investment with that 80 million. And I'm going to let the royalties and those payments carry on for the rest of our life. Now, here's the crazy thing. Just because I don't, I then have to make sure that the value of the catalog is instilled into my children's children, because what then happens is 2-3 generations down the line, they're disconnected to the person who actually created the catalog, and somebody will sell. So even though I wouldn't sell, that doesn't mean that my child or my child's children won't come in and then be like, yeah, well, I want the money. So let's watch our first video. We're going to keep this conversation going.
Sold select music and non-music assets to Harborview via Chris Effertson from Billboard. Now, we don't know the terms of the deal, but this estate is in great hands because it's been reported that the deal includes both recorded music and publishing assets and other rights like TV rights to the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. For example, if you remember, he was an executive producer of the show. If you aren't familiar with Harborview, they are one of the best at what they do, and they have been on a long winning streak. So do your Googles. I think this is a great move, and I'm sure we'll hear more from this deal in the coming months.
Okay, so I believe it was like $500 million is what his initial estate was worth. Each child got 80 million. So they have $80 million amongst themselves. And then they take the catalog and they go and they sell it, right? So the question then becomes, first, why? But I don't know if we'll ever know that. So then I think the next question is, when families sell legacy assets, who actually wins long term? So look, actually, let me ask it a different way, because a lot of you guys said it depends. What is a reason why you would sell the catalog, right? If we understand that keeping it will pay dividends for the lifetime, right? If we hold on to it, what would be a reason for selling the catalog? Shalaye, we'll go back to you. You are our first depends.
The first depends. Yeah. So this kind of goes parallel to some things that I see in real estate, where people have legacy property, right? And, some of the families like, don't sell it, that's grandma's house. And then some of the families like, no, we need to sell it. It really depends on everyone's specific situation, because sometimes, most of the time, with an asset like that, especially an estate that big, there are going to be fees and things involved with keeping it. You got to pay people to manage it and things like that. And you may be getting a great portion back as far as income, but you also have to offset that with the expenses. And then also maybe some or all of his kids have a bigger venture that they want to invest in, and it might make sense to sell off this asset to get a bigger one or to invest in a bigger one.
I hear what you're saying. So when I hear that, I think, did they have money before? What are the chances of them having had money before? So if you're the child of Quincy Jones, how much money do you have? Right? Probably not. You probably are living off of the cow, but you probably don't have your own money, right? You're probably going to that, hey, can I get some money? Hey, can I get some money? Hey, can I get some money? You're living off of what he makes. So he passes away. You get 80 million that you did not have. Mm-hmm. Why then go and add insult to injury, sell his catalog for another money grab? Like, that's what I hear. I could be wrong.
Well, they may have a deal going on whereby they sell the catalog, but they still get a piece. They may I
guess we don't have those pieces, yeah. Right? You can maybe
I would negotiate that because they're in a good position. I would be like, okay, we're going to sell this to X company so that you can do and maximize the returns on this money. But we still want a piece of it. We want to still have some equity in the game.
That's only if that's how it was done.
Right.
That's only if that's how it was done. I'm going to have our executive producer check to see how that came out. But Nomalanga, why would you sell? You said it depends too.
Yeah. So any estate, I happen to have gone through this, although it was not even a portion of that big estate. But any estate that you have, it takes a lot to actually manage it. So sometimes it does seem easier to liquidate and then maybe reinvest this in something that's easier to manage. I personally like real estate. Maybe because I've been, in the hospitality management business and we've always owned property. So that feels easy to me to do. But other things that are more complex, sometimes it's not about whether, you're getting royalties or whether it's quick money. It's about what can you manage and how easy is it to manage. And that's a very real thing, because if you're managing something that you don't quite understand, you have to hire people who are specialists or experts, and that costs money. Then you're dealing with something you don't understand. So it's easier for somebody. I mean, we've heard those stories about really rich people suddenly not being rich because they hired somebody and they were siphoning the money, or they just didn't really understand what was going on. I think Oprah Winfrey to this day says she has to sign every single check because she just doesn't trust that she can have people signing away her money somewhere. So it just, again, it really does depend. But in their case, I don't know enough to know whether they should sell or should be selling or not. But I would say the reason why you would sell sometimes is because it's just too much for you to manage and you want something easier.
Okay. All right. Dr. Sabrina, our estate planning guru expert, what's your take on this? Why do you think they would sell? What would be a positive to them selling? How could they end up in a position where they have to sell the catalog?
So that's the question, Dr. LaNee. Are they selling because they have to sell, or are they selling because they choose to sell? And there is a difference. And I mean, standing on the outside looking in, everybody's like $80 million. Certainly you don't have to sell. So let's just work off that assumption that they don't have to sell. It's a choice that they are making. And I agree with the other queens. It could be that it's overwhelming. It could be that they have some other assets that they are looking at acquiring. And just from reading the description and kind of doing some quick research, I got the impression that it wasn't just about the sale. It was more about the partnership and the management for them. And I agree. And one thing that we have to realize, we're not our parents. These people, a lot of these legends did some great things, but while they were out doing some great things for the world, they kind of left their kids behind. Their kids may not have been right there with them, or may not have even had the same gifts that they had. So it could be, that they just simply don't know how to manage or what's best. But from what I read, I think they want to preserve their father's legacy.
Okay. So I think that's good. Dr. Aisha, what about you? What would lead to you selling? Because you said depends as well. So why would you sell?
I think it's about also understanding the whole scenario behind. I won't sell per se. Again, it depends, right? Because am I doing something to preserve the legacy and having foresight to think that, listen, I can't manage this myself because such a huge estate. And do I need experts to actually come that know what they're doing with also my input, navigate this properly so that my father's legacy will live longer than I would have maybe been able to manage it. So it might even be that Quincy Jones got this ready, that this company would take over. I think there's assumptions that the kids are just doing it. Maybe they're just now living what he wants them to do by using their trust. Then now this company is now be the company to actually take over to get it done. So I think that, again, it just depends on everything that's happening. He might be the one that instructed this to take place, and to make sure that the foresight to think about the future and continuity and just avoid dispute in family, this company comes in to make sure that everything is done properly the way he will have wanted it to be done, and carry his legacy for many, many, decades to come. So that is why it depends to me too.
All right, so I'm going to read this to you guys. It says, so I put it in there. I said, did Quincy Jones' kids sell his estate and rights? Do they get money? Because I want to know. I need to know. And yes, so there's some caveat. Yes, the estate of the late Quincy Jones, managed by his children, finalized the deal in March 2026 to sell a large portion. So they didn't sell it all. That made me feel better. They didn't sell it all. A large portion of his music catalog publishing rights and select media assets. The deal is intended to protect his legacy.
Right.
It includes his producer royalties. So his producer royalties will go to this company, not the kids. All right. His producer royalties and interests in Michael Jackson's Thriller, Bad, and Off the Wall albums. The deal includes his recorded music, publishing rights, and his stake in television projects like The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. That means they don't get any of that. According to Rashida Jones, the sale aims to protect his legacy, ensure stewardship of his work, and manage future initiatives regarding his name, image, and likeness. So they didn't sell it all, but they did sell the biggest pieces, which now makes me feel like, okay, that complexity of how do you manage Michael Jackson's work? You know what I mean? How do you manage Fresh Prince of Bel-Air? So they sold, it seemed like some of the bigger things. They didn't sell everything, so the family can still live off of some of that stuff themselves, probably the simpler things, but the bigger things they did. All right, let's go to another video, and then we'll keep our conversation going. I believe we have another video that we can talk about, and then we'll keep having this conversation. This is pretty interesting. I know that entrepreneurs do this too.
A lot of music catalog sales in the last 24 hours. Nelly just sold select catalog assets to the Harbor View Group for a reported $50 million. I would say that's a low ball, but apparently I'm not a music business person. Harbor View Equity Partners, they assist in management company founded by Sharice Clark Soares. They partnered with Nelly to basically purchase select recording assets, and they're essentially working together. They're not releasing any third deals, but TMZ is reporting the alleged price point. It was also announced today that Wiz Khalifa sold his, some of his catalog, including Black and Yellow, to them as well. This is interesting because if you've been keeping up with the sale of artist catalogs, a lot of them have been selling it to the group Hypnosis, which is a mystery new tech company. They have John Legend's catalog. They have Shakira's catalog, among many other catalogs. It's going to be very interesting with Harbor View Equity Partners being a competitor with them, considering, they're getting big artists that have a lot of notable songs. Let me know what y'all think.
So we're seeing this happen. We're seeing this happen twofold, actually, right? So we're seeing some people who are selling their catalogs. We're seeing others who are fighting to get the rights to their catalog. People who are buying their catalog and holding it for themselves. So there's two sides to this coin, right? You have people who, I think our producer said they're not doing a dump, what is she called? A buy and dump or something like that. But you have some people who look at this as more of an investment, right? I don't want to do play the long-term game. The price of streams are changing. The value is changing. All these different things are happening. Give me my money right now. I'll take my money right now. Here's my catalog. Give me my money right now. Would you do that? Actually, before I ask it that way, I was going to tell you guys about Eric Thomas. So E.T., Eric Thomas, hip hop, I forget what he calls himself, the hip hop motivational speaker. He has a catalog of work that he keeps in a vault for his family so that when he passes, they can still make money. So he has a catalog of work, conversations, speeches, whatever you want to call it, that he has held to the side that nobody has seen or heard, so that his family can live off of his mind and his work for a long time. If you think about a Zig Ziglar, that family is still making money off of his work. Napoleon Hill, right? Mm-hmm. So we understand that a person's catalog, their mind, their idea, their likeness, it has value and it can live on past you, right? So I'll apply that here. Shalaye, if you created millions of dollars of real estate knowledge and information that you could pass on and leave to the next generation, would you find it more valuable to sell it now or to hold on to it and let it live past you?
That's a really good question. And I think that, again, it depends, because you don't have to sell it all. And they're doing exactly what I was saying. I wonder if they're doing that. They're selling pieces of it for certain, for reasons, right? Mm-hmm. So we all, in our building up of businesses and things like that, we're all really essentially building it up to have a value where it can be sold, right? If we need it to be sold. So there is a place for that. There is always a place for that. And I think that having an equity play for now and having an equity play for later is super, super smart. Would I do it? Yes, I would. Like
immediate wealth. You're going for immediate wealth. I want my money right now.
Oh, would I sell immediately right now?
Yes.
No, my intellectual property, I wouldn't necessarily sell it right now in my position, because I believe that I still have more to go in order to grow that to even be valuable, that someone would want to buy it later, or it'd be more valuable later. So for me, I would say, no, I wouldn't sell it now. I would continue to build that up and then have a store for it. So in real estate terms, let's say I want to own more property, right? So there's some property that I have earmarked, like I want my kids to hold on to this. And there'll be some property that I buy and I flip it.
Mm-hmm.
I might buy it, I might hold it for a couple of years, and then I might flip it. But there's some buildings that I'm like, no, that's a later equity play. So I think that there's value in looking at that both ways. That's a great question.
Love it. What about you, Nomalanga? So let's say marriage, motherhood, and money. You might write a manifesto on marriage that changes lives, a money framework that you use and then you were able to put to use, and money, marriage, money. I did money, marriage, and then motherhood. Maybe you talk about, the best ways to mother, and you have this thing that people are like, man, this will change lives for years to come, right? Do you sell it today, your framework and your process, your catalog, to somebody today and get the money now? Or do you hold it and let your children or your legacy build from it?
Yeah, that definitely clarifies it a lot. I would definitely not sell it. Because this is so family oriented, it's basically, my brand is basically about building family and building wealth. So it would be something good to pass on from generation to generation. I would definitely be, and I am actually very mindful of creating it and packaging it in a way that it doesn't have to be sold, but it can still produce residual income and just keep producing the residual income. The problem with some brands and some things is that like my brand right now requires me, right? So it's important to build it out in a way that I remove myself from it. Like if it's a book or if it's just a program or something, and somebody else can teach it and somebody else can do something with it when I'm not there. So, but definitely the brand, I would love to keep it. And I think I would rather future generations live off of the residual rather than just sell it and have some cash and it kind of vanishes.
You brought up a good point. Right? You talked about when we have our businesses, we are the mechanism that allows it to run, right? So if we think about Quincy Jones, his brain, his knowledge, his ability to listen to something, his ability to network and connect and bring people together to create magic, whether that's on film, TV shows, music, right? His catalog is far and wide from that perspective. And now that he has passed, it does not require him anymore. So he is not the face, which then leads us to say, when I first think about it, I'm like, okay, well, then it won't make any more money because he's not here anymore. All they can do is make money off of what he's already done. But that's the aha, because when they sample the work, when they replay it, when they reboot it years from now, and Fresh Prince is like, it was the perfect legacy build, right? To say, I created all this stuff and it will live on past me. Hell, Gilligan's Island is still coming on somewhere. Those actors' families are still collecting money on Gilligan's Island. Dr. Sabrina, what about you, right? So you teach, how to estate plan, and you create estate plans, and you come up with a framework and a concept that says, hey, this is how you can have estate planning. And that doesn't change for the lifetime of people.
Right.
And somebody says, hey, we want to buy your catalog of knowledge today. Do you sell them your catalog of knowledge today, or do you hold on to it and let your catalog build for the duration of life and pass on to your children's children?
I think that could be a happy medium, a mix between the two. Okay, because we're assuming that, I keep hearing us use the word legacy. Just because I sell my catalog, that does not mean that my legacy ends. No matter whether Harborview or Quincy Jones family holds his master, the key to any of his catalogs that he holds, we will forever. I mean, he has made his mark in history. And as long as we listen to his music, as long as we, pass on his name, say his name, he's done what he needs to do from that regard. So I don't think that his legacy per se ends just because Harborview, now owns it. But I guess I kind of look at it a couple of different ways. So let's say you sell it. Okay, you sell and you get the money during your lifetime. So that gives you an opportunity during your lifetime to enjoy some of the fruits of your labor. Yes, you were doing what you needed to do for your family to benefit and for future generations, but I would certainly think that you were doing some of that so that you could enjoy some of it too. Life is fleeting. So from that aspect, yes. The other part of it is, without knowing the specifics of how these deals are structured, because I would have to hope that there's something in these deals that say, just like you are profiting, Harborview or whatever company it is, there is a percentage of that still remains with my family. So now, instead of my family having the responsibility of making sure that my name carries on and my work, is known from generation to generation, another entity is now motivated because they benefit financially. So I think it's a situation where you can create a win-win.
So I think it comes down to negotiating. We don't know the exact details of this other than sold. So our hope and prayer is that when they sold, they also put in some kind of a clause that says, well, you may own this now, because they have ownership. It's theirs. It belongs to Harborview now. They sold it. They bought it. We still want to make sure that we have some type of quote unquote edge equity or ongoing pay by way of a percentage of the funds. We hope that that's what they did. Like, for all intents and purposes, we're going to believe that that's what they did, and that they didn't just go out here and sell their daddy's stuff and didn't get nothing. They got something for it, but it's still just, I don't know, rubs me the wrong way. Okay, Aisha, same question to you. Life insurance. You built up a catalog of life insurance and an understanding of life insurance and what it is and how it's supposed to work. And you have this massive catalog that someone comes to you and says, hey, or you go to and says, hey, we'll buy it. You can sell it to us today, versus holding it and leaving it to your family and they carry it on. What would you do? Do you sell it or do you hold on to it?
In my specific case, I'm definitely holding on because of residuals. There's absolute residual income that comes from all the business you've built over the years, and you know it for a fact. It's not or if or not, there is residual income. That is why my son has license in the industry. So if something happens to me, he can carry over right away. There's no question about it. He can just slip right in and just take that business. So in my specific field, it's the beauty of the business is that you can have that residual income coming in and it stays with you for as long as you own that business. Some people do sell theirs because their kids are not interested. So they sell it to you and you can buy it from them. But for me personally, I'm keeping it because I understand the residual income.
So you brought up a good point, which is where I was just getting ready to go, right? Before I did, let me answer, because I know executive producer would be like, well, you didn't answer the question. I would hold on to mine because it's business, right? I see what Zig Ziglar is doing and Napoleon Hill and like those types of things. One of the reasons why I'm actually in the process of getting my dissertation published, right? So when you go through the PhD process and you create a dissertation, you are basically taking your thoughts, ideas, and research and putting it in the world of publishing, right? So my name will live on forever in the world of publishing. Whenever somebody has to look up Black women, entrepreneurship, psychological capital, they will always see me. But now I'm in the process of getting published in a journal. So not only will people look for me there, but once I get published in a journal, it adds authority and says that, like a psychological journal, So not only will my dissertation be published in school, but now it will be published for other PhDs and journalists around the world to say, Dr. LaNee Javette said, da, 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 da. So forevermore, I will live on for eternity. Because even right now, I have to, when I do research, I have to quote people from like 1916, 1975, though that work lives on forever. So I would not sell my catalog. I would leave it to my kids. Business information, business knowledge, psychology, these things don't change. We keep rehashing them. We keep talking about them. Nothing under the sun is new. Just our perspectives are. So I would definitely hold on to it for me. Now, Aisha brought up a good point with regards to our heirs, right? If we talk about the heirs of Quincy or the heirs of our own self, they may not have wanted to run a music empire. We talked about that. The knowledge, the complexities, what goes into having an empire, right? Your children may not want to come behind you and pick up the torch. They might not want to do real estate. They might not want to be involved in marriage, motherhood, and money making. They might not want to be in estate planning or insurance. So if your catalog cannot be managed appropriately with the same rigor, the same passion, the same professionalism, right? We're not talking about the money or even a money grab, but just if it can't be handled with the same delicacy and care that the person like a Quincy Jones would have handled it and negotiated, then does it make sense to say, you know what, let me pass this catalog on, let me sell this to somebody else? In that case, I don't know if I would or not still, but let's ask you, if that was
the thing is, LaNee, though, you can still not sell, but then not necessarily have your children run it where they just gain from the residual, but like a professional in that field is running it and they're just benefiting from the residual. So it's not always like, you know, my kids are not interested, so I'm going to have to sell. If they're not interested in actually running it, there are professionals who can run it and still keep the brand. And
that
then the
becomes
children just get the
management, not sale.
residual.
But that becomes management, not sale, right?
If it's, I mean, I'm looking at it from like a trust point of view. Like if you put it in a trust and somebody is running the trust, the children can still be the beneficiaries, meaning that they get the residuals, but they're not running anything. They just see money popping in, you know, and they have don't even have a say so, because like I said, they're not interested. So the person who actually is running that thing is a professional in that field, whatever the field is. And you just structure the trust so that they are beneficiaries, so they can benefit from it. So if there's residual, it comes to them. But because they're not interested anyway, they don't have to, you know, run it or manage it or anything, which is different than if the family is the one kind of running it and they have to worry about it. So it's not just either or, you know, like my children are not interested, so I'm gonna sell, you know.
Dr. Sabrina, from a trust perspective, isn't that managing though? So if it belongs to the trust, then the trust is managing it. That's not the same as the trust saying we're going to sell this catalog. Sell and manage are two different things. Dr. Sabrina?
Correct. So yeah, you can't, I mean, you have the option of doing either one. Typically, your trust instructions are going to tell you how to handle the assets within the trust. So the trust instructions could very well say, you know, any assets held in trust can be sold, or the assets held in trust should be managed. But I think that's important, Dr. LaNee, that we understand. And I think that's the part of the conversation let's not gloss over. Do the children, those that come after the, you know, the superstars, the art makers, the music makers, do they really have the skill sets to actually manage the things that are being left behind? And oftentimes the answer to that question is no. You know, we would like to say, well, it would be great to hold on to this stuff forever, but you know, if you know that the people that you're leaving behind don't have the capacity to manage it, then, I mean, you think about other people. How many people, one in particular comes to my mind right now, Angie Stone, and what happened with her. A lot of times, even when we have people managing our stuff, we think they're doing what's in the best interest of us, and we look up and all of our stuff is gone. Because we trusted certain people, maybe the wrong people, to manage for us. So would, you know, in that situation, would it not have been better off for her things to have been sold so that her family could benefit, rather than, you know, entrusting them to someone just to siphon them off and steal them for themselves?
Yeah, we've seen that happen way too many times. I think about Prince's family, what they did with his estate. Like, man, that was crazy. So one of the notes from our executive producer was talking about, just to put it out there, this was a strategic partnership. It's not just a sale. This wasn't just a dump and run deal. The estate still had involvement in legacy and the brand. It gains they gained a firm that can monetize better, expand licensing globally. So their thinking was to let experts scale it while we secure the bag. So that was their thinking, right? The real trade-off, what they gained, is immediate wealth, which they already had, reduced responsibility, which is really probably what they were going after, less risk, simplicity. What they gave up was long-term royalties, full control, and future upside. So I think when you look at something like that, I think this is why we had the initial conversation of, it depends, right? What the truth?
Dr. LaNee,
Yes.
Quick thought too that came to mind. So we're assuming something that we really don't know. We don't know what the specifics of those original deals were that Quincy made, because if you remember, back during the day, a lot of times our people entered deals that they thought were good for them, but they really weren't necessarily the best deals for them. So in selling, they could have done even better than what he did when he made the original deal. That's just a thought. I'm not saying or suggesting. I just kind of want to put that out there. We really don't know, you know, what did his money look like on the, you know, because he produced Thriller or these different things. Did he really put to paper the best deal for himself? You know?
And also, we don't know what was in his estate. His estate plan could have been, hey, sell this stuff off. We don't even know that. We don't even know if the estate plan wasn't, hey, I'm going to break y'all off this bread, and then the estate's going to owe some money. So I need y'all to sell these assets so that the estate can be paid and then live off of whatever. We don't know the specifics, right? No. One of the things that we do try to do here is think about these things from the perspective of, what would you do? You in the audience, what would we do, right? Really, from a business perspective, this is just an exit plan. Like from like the truth is, this is just an exit plan. How do we exit this thing and make sure that we make money? Like, that's literally all that this is. A lot of times we just paint over it and gloss it. We call it something else. Quincy Jones' family inherited millions. Now they're selling the estate to get more millions. Like, hello, this is what it is, right? And if it's done right, that means they're going to make millions forevermore, right? And the idea is, how do you do that, right? How do
The other problem, LaNee, though, that always makes me really nervous with, like, where there's a lot of money and you're giving it to a generation that wasn't necessarily part of creating that wealth, is they can just plunder it and then there'll be nothing left.
There is that.
And that's one of the reasons why it's so important to have trusts that are very specific, that even if you liquidate the whole estate, I've seen trusts where they say, you know, my daughter will get it at 18, a little bit, and then a little bit at 25. And then if she gets married, you know, it's very clear that this part is going to be for my grandchildren. And if she divorces that guy, he gets nothing. It gets so specific, you know, because I think when you've built something like that, it'd be so sad that in the next generation, it just vanishes. So it's very important when people are talking about liquidating trusts liquidating estates, to make sure that the trust rules are very, very mindful of just not plundering the whole thing, because that happens a lot. I was actually reading somewhere, maybe it was one of our shows just last week, where it says that you kind of lay the foundation for wealth in one generation, then you build the wealth in in the next generation, and then the third generation, it usually disappears. So if you don't have those specific things in your trust, it literally will just disappear and there'll be nothing left. We've seen it so many times.
Yeah. And one of the things our executive producer wanted us to make sure to mention is that the firm that they sold it to is Black owned.
That's right.
So to make sure that we know and understand that the firm that they sold it to is Black owned, which again, that's a good thing to have and a good thing to know. But we do know that all skin folk ain't kin folk. So we'll have to see how this plays out and hope for the best, right? Hopefully they got a good deal. Hopefully that they don't fumble the bag. Hopefully the organization does good by them. Somebody said that she is dope. Again, we hope that all of these things work together for the good of those that do good business. let's look at some stats. And then we're going to go to some comments in the chat. So over $5 billion worth of music catalogs have been acquired by investment firms. $5 billion. Legacy artists can earn millions per year in royalties long after peak careers.
Mm-hmm.
The global music publishing market is valued at over $6 billion plus annually. Global publishing. Music catalogs have been selling for 10 times to 30 times their annual earnings. Why? Because it's forever. People are still sampling stuff like Candy Girl or Juicy Fruit. Like these are old songs that people still sample, which means whoever owns Juicy Fruit from years ago will make money. I guarantee it's not the artist.
Dr. LaNee, but that brings up another point too, especially in this era of AI that we live in. The reason why people are able to sample this stuff years and years and years later is because people put out some good stuff initially. And I don't want us to gloss over that fact either, because somebody needs to hear that.
Don't be putting out trash, Dr. Sabrina said.
The stuff that Quincy did was dope, as
Mhm.
our producer said.
Definitely.
So when you do things that are good, when you do things that are substantial, yes, they will outlive you. And for some of these folks, and I'm just gonna say it, you know, I'm back, y'all brought me back, so I'm gonna say what's on my mind. But some of these folks, they need to go on and get their little 5, 50, however many million and go on about their business, because that stuff just ain't that good. I'm just gonna tell you, in my own opinion.
Listen, Dr. Sabrina said it, not me. Dr. Sabrina said it, not me. But it is the truth, right? We're living in a time and a space where everything comes and goes so fast. Quality is not necessarily what we're leading to. Everything is fast and get it out there. Just do something and get it out there. When you think of Shalaye, when you think about Quincy Jones, right, as a musical genius, and you think about he's aging, so I know my assumption is he's looking at all of his things, his wills, his estate. He's thinking about his future and how it's going to, or his future and or his legacy and how it's going to play out. If this were you, right, are you putting in your estate? Are you foresighting how this is going to play out? I don't want to have my children have to deal with these things, or for the vultures to come and knocking when you pass. Saying like we know that they do. When Michael passed, they was knocking on his parents' door. Give us, right? If you're already knowing this, you're already thinking this. What are you putting in the trust for your real estate?
Definitely. I had made a note and Sabrina said it, the instructions, your trust is the instructions. So it's like saying that, you know, the kids, they may not be able to manage this, they may not be interested, but we can put instructions in on what to do with the assets, how we can dole out how many generations we want it to go to in the instructions in the trust. And yes, I've been thinking about that. Like my mom and my dad died. So I'm always thinking about my mortality, right? And what am I building now? And what am I leaving? And what does that look like? And how can it last? And all of these things, I think it's super important to have those instructions in the trust. Like, okay, you can't get it to 18. How much do you get at 18? 25, marriage, if you divorce, like saving it for the grandkids. I think that the instructions are the most important thing.
I love it. Nomalanga, what would your instructions say? You're on mute, I think. Or am I on mute? I know you're on mute. Okay.
I am actually thinking about that a lot lately. The interesting thing is that when you have assets that get passed on from generation to generation, it's really good because you can protect them. Like, for example, I don't really like to give out private information, but for example, one of the things that we really wanted was, for example, our parents both passed away, but before they passed away, I begged both of them, like, please put it in your will, put it in the trust that the family home must never be sold under any reason, for any reason whatsoever. And they did that. And I've always wanted that. And that's one of the things that I'll also do, that the family home stays the family home. And it's interesting because when you have like a large family, people sometimes come back home. Sometimes they go through struggles or whatever, and it's really great cushion to have. It's a good gathering place for family members, like grandchildren, all that stuff. But if I'm beyond that, again, it's that whole thing of getting their hands on all the assets and then they just vanish, right? So that's one of the things. It's like there's a lot of stipulation where, like I said, I love real estate. It's the oldest form of wealth building that there is. And for real estate, I really feel like most of it is going to have that instruction that it cannot be sold. And then if you have children that have the skill to run the properties, if it's like multi-units, like apartments and stuff like that, somebody who can run it. If it's single family homes, again, maintaining them, all of that stuff. But then also having a system in place that should they not do that, there's still maintenance, there's still all of the things that you want. And like I said, a trust can get so specific. And this is my life, you guys. It's so specific. It can get so specific, and you really do have to navigate that. And then even if you are a beneficiary in a trust, and that's good, now you have to think about future generations and recreating that and tweaking it. So whatever is difficult for this generation who are trust fund babies or whatever the challenges that you face, the next generation that you build a trust for, then you can tweak it and fix it. But like Shalaye said, and I think all of us agree on this, is that the instructions are so important. And sometimes you write instructions and then they restrict too much, or sometimes you don't put enough instructions, and then you end up with vanishing assets. So it's just a matter of, and that's really what wealth is, passing it on from generation to generation and tweaking it and doing it better each time. But absolutely, the instructions are what matters the most.
Yeah. Oh, you were saying something, Nomalanga, it made me think of something for Dr. Sabrina. Oh, I know I was going to ask you, Dr. Sabrina. So, first, what would you put in? What would your instructions be? But that's part A, right? Part B is a question that I have always had, and I've wondered this, which is, so not necessarily for Quincy, but let's just say for the average person. It will apply to Quincy, but I think about this for myself and just in general. Someone writes their trust, right? They put the verbiage of what they want and how they want things to happen, this, that, and the other. 50 years from now, that trust still has to be in place. That law firm is dead and gone. The person who represents is dead and gone. How do trusts and requests and people's wishes and desires stay in place for like 100 years?
Okay, that's a very good question, and I think I can wrap both questions up into one answer. You asked about what I would do, and I agree 100%. Instructions are great, but I think the part that we fail on is not in the creating the assets. It's not even in instruction. Think about how many times we've had Big Mama sit around the kitchen table and tell us, I want this house to stay in the family. We get instructions. That's not the problem. The problem is we are not getting the education, the knowledge. Our people are perishing for a lack of knowledge. We are not passing on the information to each generation. Just think about where we are as a people and how many of us, millennials and Gen Zs and all these other folks that don't even know half of their history, because that's where we're failing. We're not passing it forward. So to make sure that it is as vibrant, as active, being put in place 50 years, 20 years, somebody has to continue to prepare the next generation so that they know what Mama Dr. LaNee's intentions were, and that this is what we have to do. We're so busy doing so many other things, and we're majoring in the minors, and we're failing at the majors. And that really is making sure that our children know what to do. In fact, I had a client meeting just yesterday where a lady said, I have a home. I have 2 children. One just died recently. She had 3. And she says, I know my son doesn't want the house. He has his own home. And besides, he don't like this side of town. My daughter can't get herself together. Just so, what happens to my house once I'm gone? So it's just, I think, taking the time to really focus. And Dr. Boyce talks about this in his book, The 10 Commandments, on the role that each person should be playing in the family. And are we really, even when we're doing our child rearing, are we really, really teaching our children that they have a role to play? Each generation, there's a role. There should be a historian that's carrying forth the family's history. So I think that's part of the problem, and how you ensure, to answer your question, that's how you ensure, even if you don't necessarily involve an attorney, a law office, because you don't have to have a law office involved with a trust. You can, but you don't have to. That's a whole conversation in and of itself. Have you provided enough education and information for your family to carry forward your wishes?
Love it. I love it. So we're going to do our final thoughts. I'm going to begin with you, Aisha. And the final thought, so give your final thought. Of course, how people can find you and get a hold of you. With your final thought, well, because I said, like I said, I feel like this is like an exit strategy, right? So based on what you do and what you know in your area of expertise, how would you tell somebody to prepare their family for what comes next? Okay. Quick and cute. I will begin with you, Aisha.
It's all about communication with your family, having the family meeting, and expressing your desires and what you want them to, to do and carry on. Like Sabrina was saying, you have to educate and include your family in your decision process so that they know. And then if you know that, they can carry on. So that's what I would definitely tell whoever's in front of me, is to make sure you educate your family, talk with them, let them understand and know what you're trying to do here. So that if you're not here, that can really continue. Because if you don't tell them specifically, then whatever happens, right? And you instruct them properly. So that will be the first thing I tell them. Make sure that you educate your family and then instruct them what you want them to carry on. And then the rest of it, really, there's nothing you can do about it, because you're no longer there. But you've already done that, and you're trusting that person that you've given that information that you've selected, and the other family member hearing them, and then putting it up in a place that is legal. That way now nobody can come and disrupt it, and they can pass it on, and it just keeps repeating itself over and over again. That's what I'll do. Where can you find me? Black Business School, and also AishaVerzi.com. Thank you.
I love it. Awesome sauce. Nomalanga, what about you?
So I think Dr. Sabrina was, what she said was very important, because we focus so much on the assets and what are we going to do with the assets, but we also have to talk a lot about the kind of human beings that you're creating, and who they will be after you're gone, which is a very important thing. And another thing is, again, it was said by Dr. Sabrina, is that we tend to build things and then we leave our children over there, as opposed to bringing them into the fold of what we're building, so that even if we pass on, they're there to continue because they've been in the fold. So I think that's very, very important. And then creating very clear expectations. I do believe in inheritance. It's a biblical principle that you should leave an inheritance for your children, but I also believe in disinheritance. And that's why you need to create clear expectations for your family and for your children, and for those that are going along with the agenda that you've prepared. Obviously not rigidly, but then they get the inheritance, and those that don't can just go their own way. I'll just leave it there. I think, again, I've stressed enough that it's just important to bring your children into the fold so that they're not these strangers taking on something that they don't know. Where you can find me, I'm also at the Black Business School. I have 2 courses. One is how to emancipate yourself from the workplace into entrepreneurship and building your own thing. The other one is something that I strongly believe in, which is homeschooling your children. I have a course there that guides you through the process of starting a homeschool. And I always say, if I mention homeschooling isn't about just yanking your children out of school and educating them yourself. You can build a homeschool curriculum even when your children are in public school or private school or whatever, because you're building a family culture all the time. And also you can find me on Facebook. I always mention Facebook because I'm always on Facebook. I'm Nomalanga Khabrone at Facebook. And please do support our charity, padsforourgirls.com. The smallest amount counts, padsforourgirls.com.
Awesome. Thank you so much for being here, Nomalanga. Shalaye, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts, first and foremost, we need to get in the habit of owning. Publishing is ownership. And if Quincy Jones and these artists did not own anything, they wouldn't have anything to build value on. They wouldn't have anything to sell to make money for their legacy and their heirs. And there are a lot of artists who do not own their publishing and are struggling right now and that's why they have to continue to perform because they don't own any of it. And it's really, really hard. So I think that the most important thing that we've learned out of this is own something and then protect it. And then you can grow it bigger. My name is Shalaye Camillo. I'm with Vital Source Realty. I'm owner of Vital Source Realty here in Boston, Massachusetts. And I can help you buy or sell real estate anywhere in the United States or Canada. You can find me on Instagram at Shalaye Camillo, on YouTube at Shalaye Camillo, and our website, vitalsourcerealty.com.
Awesome. I love it. Thank you so much, Shalaye. Last but definitely not least, it is Dr. Sabrina.
Thank you. Thank you. It's good to be back, you guys. I hadn't seen you in quite some time, and it's really good to be back. This has been a very important conversation, and I want to just say this. We can give you information. We can have conversation all day long. We can give it to you. But unless you educate yourself, and then once you educate, there is some implementation that has to occur. So just like we're sitting here talking about Quincy Jones, and it's easy to talk about him and the 80 million that his kids got and, have this conversation around him, all of us at some point need to make a decision about our legacy, how we create it, how we build it, how we protect it, and how we choose to transfer it. That's a conversation, and that's a challenge that Dr. Williams is offering to each of us. If you need some help with that, I am here to help you. I am a life and legacy planning strategist. Let's talk about it. Let's map out a plan. I am also the author of Learning to Trust: The Black Family's Guide for Building, Protecting, and Transferring Wealth. Since I last saw you, I have also released a new book, Learning to Trust: Biblical Wisdom for Building, Protecting, and Transferring Wealth. Because all this stuff we talking about and we trying to figure out, it's already been done. Ain't none of this stuff new, you guys. The guide is there for us. Way has already been made. I can be found across platforms at I Am So Noted. That's IAMSEWNOTED. Great to be here. Great to see all my queens.
I love it. I love it. It's always great to see you and to have you here, as it is with all the queens. I'm Dr. LaNee Javette. So my final thought is going to be simple, I think, and I didn't actually think of it before, but it really is in exit strategies. I think it's more important that we have them as business owners, but also just as individuals. When we go, what happens? When we exit, what happens to our family? It breaks my heart that we see so many GoFundMes, whether it be for somebody that we know personally, somebody on the internet, or even just for some celebrities or some people, somebody that was somebody at one point in time and then they passed and they didn't prepare for it. And now the fans have to take care of them, right? Always be thinking about your exit strategy. Again, whether it's for your business, even that, we see companies like a Shea Moisture sell and the Black community gets up in arms. Well, hell, you're supposed to make money and sell your business. We can't hold on to everything. I'm literally creating a tech company right now that I am building to sell to Nike. Like, I'm creating this tech company, this tech business in order to sell it. So we have to really understand what an exit strategy is and how to apply it to our business life, but also how to apply it to our personal life and how we legacy plan for the next generation. That said, if you need help with your business, all right, and you want to go to the next level in your business, you can come and join me, Tiara, Constance, Athena, my homegirl, Anika. I just got a new flyer. You don't see her on there yet. And Dr. Boyce in Miami next month. We are down to 35 seats. We're down to 35 seats. There are only 35 seats left. Come and play with us. And as we were on this podcast, I just got the note that the hotel room rate has been extended to Friday. Just got that notice. So if you did not get your room prior, or you did not get your ticket prior, you can get your ticket to the conference, and you can get your hotel room between now and Friday and get it at the Black Power rate. So we hope to see you there. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be a great time. And then we're going on a cruise. 4 nights on the ocean, wonder of the seas. Our executive producer Tiara is going to be my roommate. So we're about to have fun. Dr. Boyce officially has confirmed that he will be on the cruise with us. Constance will be on the cruise with us. Deborah, will win. What will be on the cruise with us? Are we gonna be doing who's doing Fly Nubian Money while we on cruise, Tiara? Y'all might be getting replays. I don't know, because we're gonna be on the water, and I know we ain't gonna have no good internet. So you'll know when we're gone, because we're gonna let you know. But anyways, if you can meet us in Miami next month, try to come through. It's gonna be a good time. Use the code FNM100, Fly Nubian Money 100 on the general admission ticket. It'll bring it down to $199 for you. Use the code FNM150, FNM150 on the VIP, and it will bring it down to $349 for you, right? So if you want to join us, come through. It's going to be a good time. That is next month, April 25th and 26th. Let the church say amen. Those are our announcements for today. We cannot leave without our Women's History Month fact, though, because this is Women's History Month. Ethel Waters is one of the first Black women to own her performance rights and negotiate contracts that paid her beyond appearances. She pushed for control over her work at a time when Black artists were often underpaid and locked into restrictive agreements, setting a foundation for future artists to think about ownership, royalties, and long-term income. Shout out to Miss Ethel Waters and her family, who we hope is still collecting some royalties on her work. That said, ownership matters. Once you sell the asset, you no longer control the income it produces. Think about what you're building and how you can plan to keep it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and text the word Queens to 87948 so you never miss when we go live. And as always, come back and see us tomorrow. Same time, same place, 1:00 p.m. Eastern. There it is right there. Text the word Queens to 87948. Go out today. Have a great day. Be blessed, be Black, and be one. We'll see you guys tomorrow.